Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning and we head on over. We shift gears a little bit. We're going to be talking about our schools here on the island of Tobago, and we speak with the president of the Tobago chapter of Tutor, Mr. Bradon Roberts, as we talk about back to school readiness. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning and Happy New Year to your team and all of Tobago, and by extension Trinidad and Tobago. And by correction, it's Tobago Officer of Tutor.
Tobago Officer.
Yes, we have one president.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that there. And of course, Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank
and, you know, we're going to get straight into the conversation. School reopened yesterday. Most schools reopened yesterday. And usually, I'd like to change things up a little bit. Usually, when we talk about back to school readiness, we're talking about the physical building of the school. But this morning, I want to talk a little bit about the preparedness of our teachers to accept the children back to school, in terms of have they been equipped with the things that they need, whether it be material and supplies or whether it be any type of education in terms of upgrade to their skills, as it were, to receive the children. I know a lot of things have happened. We're seeing things are evolving, the way children receive education, the way learning and teaching has changed. And I'm in a position, I'm now asking, do you think that our teachers are equipped enough to deal with the change in face of education?
Right, but even before I go to that, the question that you are skipping, it's the first time in a very long time I haven't had a barrage of issues. In the physical, in the infrastructure of our schools. So if the division has to get their kudos there, I would give such. I have not heard the complaints as we usually receive. I know at the ending of last year, we would have submitted some stuff and the division indicated that they were going to do some work over the Christmas vacation. We haven't had complaints from our teachers since, so I believe the division would have done the needful, but we continue to listen out for any other instances where we need to relay that information to the division. Regarding teachers being prepared, well, it's the responsibility of the teacher, regardless of the insufficient availability of resources or the non-availability of resources, to be as prepared as they can be. We as a union, we try to encourage, motivate. We have, especially from the month of October, in the month of the teacher, we do a lot of sessions to work on the mindset of our teachers, the guidance, the advice, and so on. We have workshops in between time where we visit schools, team building, mental health. We do all those things as a union. So we take that responsibility, and teachers are to have that responsibility for themselves to be ready. We would always call on the division to ensure that the resources that they need, especially those that they would have worked for as their salary, that those things are on par as to where they should be. Because we have some teachers who haven't gotten increments for several years because the division don't have the funds to so pay. So we understand that the allocations for education, both in Trinidad and Tobago, it's never at the quantum required. And the headache is for the administrator to see how she can make the money work and so on. And then tutor will be there advocating for everything. Rightfully so. So we would hope that whatever transparency, whatever information that will come to the fore, that we'll be able to assist the division in advocating for greater releases. Tutor will work in that regard. If we don't get it, then we're going to advocate for our members to ensure that they get the just due. Resources, teachers for several years have been spending out of pocket for a lot of things. For example, you would have textbooks and so on, basic resources sent from the division. But when you have multiple intelligences in your class, there are things that you would have to get specific for a child. So some teachers, they go out, they buy their own printer because the photocopying machine in the school not working. They get their own devices. If you want to incorporate technology, you're not going to get all those things from the division. So they buy their own packages and so on to be able to assist with the students. They buy the specific textbooks, the manipulatives for the students to interact with. So that has been happening for several years. I do not foresee immediate change when you see the budget that is read every year. We're not seeing that education is being adequately allocated for. So mentally, I believe our teachers would be ready. The challenge is the economy is getting tough. the crime rates, the schooling discipline. There are a lot of elements in society that would lead to frustration. So we always call on our teachers to be as mature, as calm, because only when you are calm you will make the right decisions. Right? When you're frustrated, anything can come out that you will soon regret.
And that might be so, but I want to piggyback off of that comment, because while we want the teachers to be able to manage and situations that they're probably not equipped or trained for, professionally trained for, and having to deal with children from all different backgrounds coming back to school with, we just came out of Christmas. I might come to school and say, look what I got for Christmas, where I went, what I did, and there might be a child or a few children in the class who didn't get anything, who didn't go anywhere, who didn't even eat a piece of cake. And of course, they're frustrated and they're acting out. Another teacher is here now having to balance this, like, okay, how do I bring that measure of calm? How do I bring back that balance into the classroom? Considering also the teacher might be thinking, I wasn't even able to buy a gift for my child as well. So the teachers, they have so many things to deal with in the classroom. And yes, remaining calm is probably the best approach, but it isn't always what happens in some instances, because as I said, they're not professionally trained to deal with these things. Is there anything considered to have teachers on a training program that helps them to deal with these types of things that arise in the classroom?
Coming from the division, I believe they do sessions sometimes July, August, a vacation. Unfortunately, that's the vacation time for teachers as well. Based on the responses, I do not think they have a good turnout for those workshops. However, tutor would do theirs. And schools can request whenever they want tutor to have a session with them and so on. We have a professional advancement committee that handles that. However, we also advise our members, any instance, any situation at your school, any time you feel like you're getting a little overwhelmed and so on, we reach out to the association so that we could be able to assist in that regard. The division also has elders associate contracted to do employee assistance program, where they have the counseling and so on for teachers who are in need of that and so on. Unfortunately, there is this stigma about counseling. So people feel you go to counseling because you're mad. And we encourage our teachers to utilize the program, because sometimes it's not the negative part of it. They will give you tips as to how you can avoid certain things. So it's not only when things get to the extreme where you seek help. So the employee assistance program is a good program where teachers who are in need of that kind of support, that kind of counseling and so on, that kind of guidance, they can have that access. And tutor also has their program where we would visit schools, or we have set locations where persons can come and have those kind of interactions. We have Zoom sessions as well. So we try our very best, because we understand that there is a high level of frustration around, not just in our schools, but in society, and that's where the crime is. The challenge for our teachers is the number of students who are not coping. And the system that we have caters for the students who can sit as I am sitting here, just calm and sit, hear the instruction and listen, give feedback. But there are those students who are more active, they have a greater interest in football, they have a greater interest in fishing and so on. And we don't utilize their interest in teaching, because we have a deadline by which we have to cover certain content. We have these high stakes exams and so on. So we have been talking with them for a very long time, and it has not gone anywhere. The number of students who are failing us, they're entering society, and then we are reaping the rewards of it. They're entering into that gang culture and so on pretty early, because that's where they feel appreciated. Those students don't get a chance to be celebrated in school. They don't do well to the point where they would represent the school in anything. The only way they feel appreciated is when they're in that particular group that we don't want them to go to. So that's where the frustration is. We are, as teachers, we are fighting an uphill battle with all the children, right? So you can't even discipline the children. You can't put them out of class. They have to be in an area where they can see on the board. They can't be deprived of education. You can't shout at them. It's verbal abuse. Well, of course, corporal punishment has been abolished. And we have guidance officers that's supposed to assist in that regard. They are not resourced, so they are not as impactful as we want them to be. So we have been shooting ourselves in the foot for some years, and we are at this juncture where teachers have to just try their best while the association lobbies with the division for as much support as possible.
And you know, you're speaking there about all the things that have been withdrawn from the education system, which you're seeing the decline. Because I remember when I was going to school, you could get put out of class, you know, mind you, in an environment where you still remain safe and there's some measure of supervision. I think there was an area in front of the front of the staff room where unruly children will go to stand and they will be there. So you're right in front of the staff room. You can't run away, and any teacher passing there could flog you. And of course, you don't want to be there, so you try your best to you know, you try your best to be as compliant as possible. I understand now, as you were mentioning, there are some children who are hyper. They are hyperactive, hyper interested in other things rather than the classroom. The confinement of the classroom no longer works because they're otherwise stimulated, you know. And so we really that conversation. We can't end it there. And I understand you're saying there's an uphill battle and you keep talking about it, but we have to talk until we have to break that glass ceiling, because our children, as you mentioned, they are suffering. They are getting the brunt of it. And now parents are having to cope with, what do I do? There's so many things happening in society that we have to face, and we just have to find solutions where it is concerned. I just want to shift gears a little bit now to talk about something a little bit lighter. I know, especially in the Tobago space, our teachers, when it's back to school, there are a few teachers who you just have to talk about when they enter the classroom is an experience for the children. And I want to say kudos to those teachers who think outside of the box, who use their innovation to ensure that the children feel welcomed when they come in. And, you know, I just want to encourage other teachers, in as much as it's stressful, try to lighten it up a little bit. You know, I know you have to dip into your pockets a little bit, Mr. Roberts, but we all have to work together. What do you think about the community that comes together to raise the child? You know, back then they used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Do you think our community is strong enough, our village is strong enough in raising our children?
I am not seeing the community at all. We would have had community leaders, but now community leaders have a different meaning now. The students are roaming our streets 11 o'clock in the night, 12 o'clock in the night. You've seen some young person seen on the corners where you'll call the block, and so that could have never happened in years gone. The adults would not allow children to come and sit amongst them on the block and that kind of thing. Street lights would have been the signal to get inside. If you're a little older, you might have a little time after that before you get inside, but we allow our young ones. And it's difficult for the community to really play a role because you had disciplined people, children, like a long time. So parents would now say to you, do it, my child. Don't talk to my child in that particular way. You know, they may come and give you a tongue lashing if the child come and complain about something you would have said. Before you go home and say somebody discipline your girl next door at home.
That's right, that's right.
So we are not seeing leaders in community. Those persons, to me, who have that cognitive ability and are forefront in certain things, they are battling their crease because they don't want to upset certain persons. Because it's not like you can correct persons and guide persons as easily as long time. You know, we have that stubbornness and we are becoming angry people, so it's difficult to even assist. However, we can't relent. The persons who have that ability to lead have to lead. I'm not seeing where we have many leaders stepping up in their community and so on. We are seeing some communities, even the village council is not as impactful as it should be. You know, sometimes when money gets into the mix, the focus shifts. So we need to have our village council up and active. And I think our area representatives should pay some attention to that to ensure each of our village councils are up and running, because we are not seeing where even like the homework centers and so on for those parents who either would not be at home at a particular time to help the child or believe that they don't have the ability to help the child. We need to have that. And just to touch on the teachers who are painting the classroom, decorating the classroom, getting all those things, the teaching is not for someone who's looking for a salary and a vacation. You won't last. Teaching is for persons who have that passion and that love for teaching, and we do things for our children out of the love. The reward is not so much a salary, you know, it's when you see how they become and they develop in society. Sometimes, even myself, when I go to the airport and I see some of my former students and so on, that's where the joy, that's where the reward is. So persons who really have that love for their country and love for their students will step up and do their best. And we don't have enough of that in our society today.
Very, very, very true, and I agree with you there. And I do hope that the community can come back together to where we used to be. It takes a village to raise a child, and each one teach one. Back then, as you mentioned there. Well, if you go home and you tell your mommy somebody raised their voice at you in tongue or somebody slap you, you like, before you even get the explanation as to why they have to hit you, you get your one first, and then they're going to have the conversation if at all, and so we want not necessarily that type of behavior, but to get back to a place where the respect for the elderly, respect for self comes back. Mr. Roberts, in closing, is there anything that you'd like to share with our viewers this morning?
Well, 2025 unfortunately has a series of elections. And I would want us to be focused as a people. So yes, you would have the political sides and so on. But if we take our attention only to politics of the thing, we're going to be distracted as a people. We have our young persons that we need to see about. We have our elderly persons we have to see about. We have our own personal development to see about. So I want us to be focused as a people. There are things that we need to address, especially in education. It's never about the politics. I think politics is supposed to be for election time like now, and then die off after election, and we could be focused as a people. And I think we did not get that chance over the last 4-year period. And even in our history, we tend to have a red jersey, blue jersey, yellow jersey throughout our whole lifetime. And I would want us to be focused. Our teachers, as the association, would lobby for all the things that the division owe you. We hope that you will be as focused as well and give our best to our students. And we feel our students, they will come back at us. And that's where my passion is in my job, because the students that we feel, we have to live among them as they become adults and so on. And they will become parents as well. And if they are not able to groom their children, we're going to have that cycle where it's always going to be that challenge. So I want us to be focused as a people towards the development of one another and not bringing down each other in what is likely to be a heavily political year.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roberts. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Mr. Bradon Roberts, the Tobago Officer of Tutor to Trinidad and Tobago, as we talk about our school system, Tobago schools, and where we are heading 2025 and beyond. Thank you so much for staying with us. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live.